No, content is the big one and the difficult one. And I think people struggle with coming up with ideas and being consistent and knowing how to package up things that they're thinking, how much detail to go into. So it'd be interesting to see your views on this.
Yes, and that is the main thing. It's how to package it up. And I think that's the bit that I'm working at for myself at the minute is, okay, so I started off just sharing marketing tips, and they're helpful for definite, and I still do that. I still do share like hints and tips on marketing, but I instead tell a story around it to weave in marketing into it, if that makes sense. So an example was a couple of weeks ago, I was on a photo shoot, so I had some new photography done, and I shared a few of those photos in a post. In the captions at the top, I just put new photography and then tagged in the photographer and said how much I enjoyed the day. And then I then wrote, this is where I'm going to then use my photography now. You can use this as a checklist of your own. And I put 10 places where I knew I would start to use my photography. So website, social, blah, blah, blah. And that for me is, I'm showing something of my own, as in my own new photography. I'm focused on my own marketing. I've tagged in someone else to support them, to showcase them. And I've given a tip to other people at the same time. So that's my marketing. That's a bit of a story. I could have gone into way more detail about the actual day of the photo shoot because it was really fun. But instead, I just made it quite short and sweet.
And your audience is going to take the value from that, because obviously the people you want to work with, that's part of marketing. It's like, it's a good, useful tip rather than, what you ate or whatever, or what you did during the day. As interesting as that might be, the twist that you put on it is more useful, I suppose, for your audience.
Yeah, but who knows? So it performed really well, and I got a lot of likes and engagements, and I got a lot of comments. But who knows where that came from? So it could have been from my beautiful photos.
Probably.
It could have been from Victoria because I tagged her, or it could have been from the tips I gave. Like, who knows? But it definitely it did well. So, and I've served a few different purposes there. Another way I actually post as well is it might be my way of thinking, but I think quite like conceptual, if that makes sense. So like quite broad, rather than in the detail. So I will talk about personal branding, for example, and I share examples of myself that make up my personal brand. So I've literally just scheduled a post for like a couple of weeks' time that says, we are all unique, as in this is what makes personal brand. Like, no one can do marketing like me, and that's not a boast. It's just I do me. Like, that's myself. So
Sure.
our markets can't be saturated on that basis because of who I am. Like, no one will be like me. But actually what makes us very relatable and wanting to work with one another is these little quirks that we have just in society and how we've been brought up. So then I share a list of my quirks and little things that are a bit funny. It gives you a bit of more of an insight into me. But my whole concept of that post is this is personal brand. And at the same time, I know people engage with it because there's some things on there that I know people will say, me too, like I do that, or I've thought that. So I'm generating a conversation out of a topic which is actually personal brand, but it hopefully helps business owners to see that I'm thinking at a higher level about marketing, and they might then think, oh, I hadn't thought of it in that way. Like, yeah, that makes sense. And then I'll stay in their mind, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It's clever how you're weaving all of these elements in, and it's quite clear that you think quite hard about these posts. And, you can demonstrate with your feed to your clients these techniques and how it can work for them if they employ the same, because it's not simple, but with the right frameworks and approach
Yeah.
and a routine, I suppose it becomes easier.
Yeah, but actually, when you said that, I'm like, I don't spend too much time thinking about them, and I think that's because, and you shouldn't really, like, your topic, like, you know about digital marketing. You could talk about it at the drop of a hat, so talk about it, and
Yeah.
like talk about it from your angle.
People, I think, I mean, speaking from my experience, I feel that I overanalyze everything. How are things going to be
Yeah,
perceived? Is
yeah,
this post as good quality as one of our competitors or somebody I look up to? And
okay,
I overanalyze it for so long that it
yeah,
just doesn't happen.
it
But it
just
doesn't mean that we don't have the knowledge. And like, you said that you meet people at networking events, but they're not so active. Whereas if they could transfer their personality that you had, or that they give in public events online, then it would carry across. But
yeah.
it feels different because it's online,
A
doesn't
little,
it?
yeah. And it is that over analysis that I've stopped doing now. And
Yeah.
and I think that comes from um it comes from understanding personal brand and really seeing people as completely different. Like, we essentially then on that basis don't have competitors, because no one will do the same as you and Anna. Like, no one will do it in the same way. We
Sure.
just think that other people are doing it because it's digital marketing and it's other people do marketing. But the experience for your customer will be very different working
Yeah.
with you compared to someone else who has a digital marketing agency.
Yeah.
And that difference is the way that you think and the way that you act and how you've been brought up and what you believe in,
Yeah.
and as long as it's good stuff that you're putting out there, like, as in good stuff, positive, and it's not negative and ranty, then you kind of can't go wrong.
Sure.
The other thing that I also advise on people to do is listen to your customer. So essentially, we're all just trying to talk to our potential customers, right? Because that's what business is, that's what marketing is. So I work with a client where she voice notes me, two clients actually, they've just voice note me, or we use Notes app. And when they've been in front of their customers, they send me a little synopsis of, okay, these are the current themes at the minute, this is what I'm hearing, this is what I'm seeing. And then I note all of that down, and I then make a story out of that. So one of them is a business coach, for example, and she'll let me know when she's been in like group coaching sessions and how people are feeling at this sort of time of year, like what the common themes are, and then I'll then write about that. So some examples might be about looking after yourself as a business owner is way more important than trying to scale your business, because she sees a lot of people being exhausted. So, and she doesn't want to see that. That's what she helps business owners to overcome. So then we start talking about that over on LinkedIn and how she actually helps business owners to overcome that, so that when business owners see her post, they'll be like,
Yeah.
I'm exhausted, this person can help me. Okay, I'm going to contact her. And she's built her business. We only use LinkedIn. We only use LinkedIn and email. So she's built her business in that way. And that's just customer insight being kind of regurgitated, and like, so the whole feedback loop. And then she posts some like personal, I say personal posts, you know what I mean? Like a little bit more about the way that she thinks, or that she does property renovation, or things
Okay.
like that make her her, and the way that she thinks.
But listening to customers is and remembering those issues, those intricacies, those small things that are said in calls that maybe get left usually, is trying to remember those. And actually, maybe that's the gold in terms of a really good strategy
100%.
then.
And the post that I've just shared that I of my own examples around personal brand of website is purely from being on the photo shoot, and other business owners were there, and they were like, "What do I do now? Like, where do I put these photos?" And I'd said to them, "Where are you going to share your photos?" They're like, "I don't know." And I'm like, "Okay, a checklist then. I'll put a checklist up there." Those people follow me on LinkedIn, so I didn't get a chance to talk to them on the day. There's the checklist. Hopefully they've seen it. And maybe I'll go into their DMs and say, check out this post. It might help you based on what we chatted about.
And it all links in.
It all
Yeah.
links in. So and this is just for me, like planting the seeds to the universe. I like to talk about the universe, George. But it's helping people. Word of mouth takes place then.
Yeah.
And it feels good. It feels good to help people and like fill in the little gaps for people, because that's essentially where the confidence comes from, is when you've got knowing of an area of business that you don't currently know about. You start to build confidence in it and confidence in people that can help you.
I totally agree with that. It's putting it out there and trying to, like you say, out to the universe and trying to help people. And you may not get that instant feedback. I mean, we met with a client last week, and he was saying that they've recently won. Actually, I think one of their largest clients that they work with came to them after reading their blog for 2 years. And then signed, and it's on their top list, big national brand, and he's really happy. And I was asking him, where are you finding your largest clients? And that was one of them. So you may not know the value.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But it's happening.
It's happening. Yeah, 100%. Like I will be like I spoke to somebody, she's in the Isle of Man yesterday, and she was like, "I feel like I already know you," because she follows me on LinkedIn and Instagram. And I was like, "Oh, like I didn't even you just forget. You forget when you're posting." That might scare some people, but to be honest, I've had so many comments from people when I've been in my local city and at networking that will say, "Oh, I know your face," or "It must be from LinkedIn," or they will be able to say, "That post that you shared about this that I can't even remember really helped me because I've now done this in my business," or "Oh,
Awesome.
I was talking about you the other day to this." And
you're like, "Who are you?"
yeah, and they haven't commented on my post. Like that's not what it's about. It's just about taking part. Sometimes,
Awesome.
sharing what's within you and taking part, because it helps people. That's all it comes down to. And yeah, just doing that consistently, because eventually it comes back round, and it feels good when it comes back round. Right. So.
And the beauty of it all is that it's just being yourself, and working with somebody like you who can guide people through the process of how to shape that. Ultimately, once you understand how it works, like you say, you're kind of speaking from the heart a little bit with your posts, and it becomes easier. So
Yeah, but I guess it's not easy though. Like to say, "Oh, just be yourself." Like it's not easy to do that, and that's probably the bit that people actually need to work on first, is being confident in who they are, because that's 100% the bit that I see definitely solo entrepreneurs say is, "Oh, I'm just not confident to post something," and that does come from kind of sitting with yourself and understanding yourself more, and that's a lifelong
challenge.
yeah, like will we ever really say we're fully ourselves? Maybe not, but use LinkedIn in the process to help you feel more like you. It's definitely helped me by just writing, using it as a bit of a cathartic tool, and then just seeing what happens. Sometimes I write stuff and then I'll be like, oh, I'm deleting that one next day. And that's fine. Just write something else in replace of it instead of how you feel it. But,
Awesome. Great advice.
yeah.
Great advice. Thank you for sharing all of that.